Hey everybody, thanks for joining us today. I'm here with Pastor Chad, lead pastor of Freedom Life Church, and we are here at Selma Park, lots 38 and 39, which is where we're going to be this coming Sunday. This is exactly where we're going to be at. We have a wonderful view behind us, and so make sure that you come out and join us for that. Today, though, we're talking about the follow-up to last Sunday's message. We're on a series called We Are FLC, and this last Sunday we talked about worship. We worship at FLC. And so, was there anything that you left out in your sermon this last Sunday?
Well, we could talk about worship, I don't know, all year long.
Yeah.
It's such a big piece of what we do as Christians. I think it's funny because we're saying, we worship, that we value this moment, that we value being worshipers. And you would think that would be like a given.
Yeah.
But it's not. I think it's really something that we learn how to live into, and I think that was the primary point of the sermon, was to get people to understand that worship's beyond just maybe this particular moment, but we want to create a lifestyle where we worship, where that's who we are. We're worshipers at our core, and so but yeah, we could go 100 different ways. One of the things that came up was, we talked in John 4 where it says that the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth. Right. And so the question was, why wouldn't we compartmentalize that? Talk about what it means to worship in spirit, talk about what it means to worship in truth. And I'm like, well, we did that. Yeah. We did that in the message. I think it's just that we didn't specifically stop and compartmentalize it and make it really like, oh, here's point number 1 in spirit, point number 2 in truth. Yeah. So I'm sure all of my type A note takers were struggling a little, but it was there. The idea was certainly there, because what we were talking about is really the gift of music, this gift from God that really, it becomes a real strong element of our worship as believers. And so, but music does two things. It informs us. It helps us to learn things. Yeah. So, I use ABCs. Yeah. It helps us to learn things, but it also affects our heart and stirs our emotions. Yeah. And so, so it is both of those things. Yeah, the emotions, the passion, that's the spirit part. That's the spirit piece. The informing of truth and hearing those truths and taking them in is the truth part. Mm-hmm. And that becomes who we really are, that we sing what we mean and we mean what we sing. Right. And so it's there in the sermon. I didn't necessarily choose to maybe specifically compartmentalize it into, here's spirit, here's truth. I just kind of wanted to look at it as a whole and go, we want to be those that do passionately worship and love to worship and understand that worship is this thing that it's truth statements set to music, I think is the quote we used. Yeah. That's what it is. It's truth statements that are just set to a song and that we get to sing about the truths about God. And so it's there. It's there. Yeah. I think one of these days it would be really nice for us to look at that whole text. I think I actually said in the beginning, man, I wish we could read this whole exchange between Jesus and the Samaritan woman, that whole text in regard to worship, in regard to, that conversation is really great. I would love to maybe one day just sit down and preach through that. But just for this particular sermon, I really just wanted to kind of elevate our thoughts about worship. About the use of music and about what that's about and how we engage that part, as we become everyday worshipers, right. And engage what we're doing there, that the truths that we sing on Sunday impact our lives as we live out Monday through Saturday. So, I think that was kind of the main goal, I suppose.
Well, it really is a great piece of text and stuff, which is where we get our youth name, The Well, from and stuff.
Right,
is that
right.
From that piece of text.
Absolutely.
And so, it really is amazing, and hopefully one day we can just walk through it.
It'd be great. It'd be fun
outside of a youth ministry service. Yep. And so, hey, one of the questions that I had for you was, in your own time, because you talked about in your sermon how worship isn't just inside these walls, inside the congregation on Sunday mornings at 10:30. every Sunday.
Nice plug.
Yeah, every Sunday.
Every Sunday.
And so it's not just there, but it's also, outside of there. It's in the car. I forget the rest of the examples and stuff. When you were saying the examples, I was thinking in the shower. We sing in the shower,
Yeah.
right? Am I the only one? And so, but you personally, where do you get time to worship? Because I know your life is busy, and maybe you can help those people who are just going throughout the week, and maybe give them some ideas on when's a good time to worship.
Well, you said one of the biggest ones for me, and that's in the car. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a great place to go. I will be honest, I'm not a radio listener, but I certainly will turn on my Spotify playlist on my phone. Some people have fancier cars than me, so they can plug their phone into their car. And all these newfangled technology that's out there that my 2004 Mercury Grand Marquis can't do. So I just have it like on my phone. So I just have it playing on my phone. But really, if you've got a good playlist or something on your phone and you can plug it in, or you can, Bluetooth connect it or whatever. That's a great place because from place to place, you're kind of letting a moment of worship kind of break in into your life. I think is pretty easy to do. One of the things I love is worship with the kids. If I can kind of throw in a family worship plug, that's one of the moments that we just, we get into a room and just go nuts. We've got some great DVDs, and videos that we can put on. Hillsong Kids
Hillsong Kids.
They've got some great resources out there, videos out there that are just fun and a lot of movement, and the kids love it. And so we'll get into those spaces and, and just go nuts, and dance around, and the kids have a blast. I think that that's one way, we don't do that every day. I think some people, think that maybe that's what I do every day with my kids. No, we have family devotional time and things like that, but we don't necessarily, turn on a worship video every night and spend time like that. But 2 or 3 times a week, we're doing that. We're in that space, and enjoying moments of worship and things like that. And so, I think that that's a good place to do it.
Yeah.
I think for me, obviously it's easy for me at work.
Yeah.
When I'm at work, when I'm at the office, I can easily put on, worship songs on my computer or things like that, so depending on a person's workplace, if a workplace doesn't mind them, listening to some music softly, or whatever in their cubicle or wherever it is that they work, I think that's always good. Even if it's almost in the background, sometimes you hear that verse or you hear those words that become that truth that can encourage you that day. You just never, you never know how that's going to affect you. But, and then working out, I don't do a lot of that. But when I do run or walk or I do anything like that, even if I go to a gym and shoot around by myself, shoot a basketball, by myself or anything like that, it's easy to pop in some headphones and listen to worship in those moments too. So, if you're, if you're a walker or a runner or something like, if you exercise on a consistent basis, that's a really easy time, to turn something on and just let the truths about God kind of be sung over you.
Yeah.
And so
I think it's important just to get that time in, however it looks for you.
Yeah.
And so whether that is exercising or at the office or in the car, if that's the time that you have, you should take advantage of those times.
I think, if our relationship with Jesus is important to us, if I can just lay it out there, I know it's a follow-up video, but I think it's a challenge for all of us. If our relationship with Jesus is important to us, what's important to us, we'll treasure, we'll value.
Right.
And what we treasure and value, we'll chase. We'll go after it. If that's really what we treasure, we'll chase it. Yeah. We'll go after it. And so I think, I think that's really where the rubber meets the road. I think a lot of times is that, look at how you value your relationship with Jesus, and then it almost becomes natural to let kind of the soundtrack of your life be worship and praise to Jesus. And so it's really easy to turn those things on, find pockets, find little moments where you can where you can do that.
Yeah.
I also think it's nice to couple that with my Bible reading time, when I study the Bible on a personal level, not even just sermon prep, but on a personal level, which is a whole nother topic. I have personal times where I dig into God's word for me.
Yeah.
And in those times it's really easy. Couple that with worship. Now, some people can't do that because then they want to sing the song and they forget to study their Bible.
Yeah.
But like for me, it's easy. It goes really well together. Prayer, worship, reading God's word, those things kind of go naturally together. So, that's something to adopt really, in what you do. And so, I think it also, as you live a lifestyle of worship, in your ability to listen to things and man, when you have that kind of going on and that creates an environment in your everyday life, it enhances what happens when you come together with the people of God in the corporate setting of worship on a Sunday morning. I think it enhances your experience even in that moment when the people of God come around and begin to sing and you're in the midst of that. I think it enhances it, honestly. I think it makes it something deeper than just our checklist for that week. I went to church and I sang some songs. Anyway.
Well, awesome. Last question. You mentioned a lot that you have that all the time that you listen to worship. You brought up the example of like whenever I go to your Spotify, all you have on there is worship, which is true. Like from like 2002.
That's like not. That wasn't kidding. That's
like
a true thing.
Old school worship all the way up into it's like he never changes it. It just keeps adding. But is it bad to listen to secular music?
Well, I quoted Taylor Swift.
You did, so I know I know you heard it.
And then I don't know I can't remember. I think it's Two Tone or whatever that's saying 8675309. I
don't know what that is.
I reference. Well, you're not a heathen like me apparently. I just it's one of those things where I go I quoted a song. I don't necessarily think I don't think that you're, wicked and sinful. I think it's weird that we even label it, secular music and Christian music. I find that a little strange. But I get what we mean by that because there's a qualification. Okay, one's secular because it's not necessarily singing about Jesus or glorifying his name and things like that. So I get it. I understand what we mean, that there is a difference between the two. I don't necessarily think that you're sinful for listening to secular music. What I would encourage anybody though is that if that's all you ever listen to and it has nothing to do with stirring your affections for Jesus and things of that sort, as a believer, that feels weird to me that we wouldn't cherish songs that really glorify him and make much of him. I think that I personally think that that's odd. Yeah. That we wouldn't have a healthy dose of worship mixed in. But I certainly wouldn't condemn anybody for having secular music on their playlist. I wouldn't. I don't particularly have anything on my Spotify playlist that is a secular song, but that's not because I even have any strong conviction about I can't listen to secular music. There's some secular music that I really enjoy that I think is fine. I think is good. I'm never going to admit that I'm a Taylor Swift fan. That's for sure. She just gets in my head and drives me crazy. But I just think it's one of those things where I think I would encourage anybody that if secular music's all you've ever listened to, man, I would encourage anybody, hey, why don't try to put in, kind of maybe move away from that for a little bit and try just letting your heart, because music is informative, it is effective. Yeah. It does. And so we say that it doesn't influence us, but it does. So if you're listening to things that communicate a particular message, because every song's communicating a particular message, every song is, even if the lyrics aren't that deep. Yeah. Right. Even if lyrically it's not that deep, every song's communicating a message. And so I think if you're inundated by particular messages all the time, I think that can be dangerous for some people. I certainly know that if you're young in your faith, I think it maybe would be important for you to kind of move away from those messages and step into, really just letting worship be where your heart is and where your mind is. But I don't think it's sinful or wrong or bad if you're listening to secular music. Yeah. I think if it says Jesus isn't God, I think you should shut it off. I think that's garbage. But most songs don't say that.
Well, it's funny because you talked about the idols and stuff, and anything that that may not be bad, but if you put it in front of Christ, then that's wherever it becomes that absolute, and you don't really want that.
Yeah, so, I think it's important what we let into our lives, and so and I know that's always the uncomfortable part of Christianity is oh, I'm not supposed to watch this or not supposed to listen to this. Where I think that there can be legalism that rises out of that, where there's legalism and condemnation that rises out of that in people. I think that there's certainly truths in the fact that, we do have freedom in Christ. And so I don't necessarily know that, you're not going to go to hell for listening to a Taylor Swift song. Yeah. Although there's a decent argument for that. But I just, that's for my own personal reasons. But anyways, right. I think secular music is it can be fine in moderation. I think it's just like anything. I think you have to be careful about what the messages that are being sung in those. I think you do have to be careful of that. Because the Bible would even call that the counsel of the wicked, because every song's got a theology to it. Every song's saying something. Yeah. And so I think you do have to guard yourself, just like every book you read, every show you watch, every movie you watch.
People you hang out with.
It is true. The people you're hanging out with, the Bible's going to tell us bad company corrupts good character. We know this. And so, that's what's going to happen. Right. And so I think every book, every song, every movie, every TV show, every friend, every person that we're close, I think we do have to be careful of that kind of stuff and the influences that can come there. And so, I think you have to go with, if I can end it this way, go with your own convictions in regard to where you feel like God has you in your ability to, maybe for lack of better terms, kind of compartmentalize that and go, it's not bad for me to listen to a particular song. But if you have a tendency to, kind of go that way or listen to those messages and have a real problem with it, I wouldn't say don't do that. But that goes with anything in life. Right. If you have a struggle with an addiction in certain areas or whatever of your life, then don't go there. Then don't do that. But some people don't have that. And so they have a freedom maybe to do certain things or whatever. Does that make sense? Yeah. And so that's it's a complicated topic, but I think it's a good question. I don't think you're sinful or bad for listening to a secular song. I just think, man, if you don't have a healthy balance at least, and maybe probably more so to the side of, man, I want things that are coming into my life to glorify God and to make much of Jesus and to stir my affections for Him. If that balance is really off, I would encourage anybody to maybe take a look at that. Right. So anyway.
All right. Well, awesome, man. Thanks for joining us today. Again, we were going to be here at the lake, Selma Park here. Next Sunday, 10:30. So make sure that you invite a friend, bring out your family. We're gonna have a great time here, and so we're super excited about that.
Yeah, bring your own lawn chair too.
Bring your own lawn chair. That's
You're gonna need chairs if you want to sit down.
Yeah. So bring that out, and we'll just have a blast.
It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Time. Yeah. So thank y'all so much for joining us today. One last thing, if you haven't checked out this last Sunday message, check it out on our Facebook page. It'll be on there. And then you can, hear everything that Pastor Chad had to say about We Worship. And so we're very excited about this series and hope you are too. Thanks again. Love you guys.
See you.